actually my sister is 7 years older than me, and she played the viola. And she thought I don't practice enough, so she has to help me. And she gave me 1 hour of lesson every day for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine? Because the thing which is amazing is that she was between 14 and 19 at that time. And you know, the funny thing, I mean, if you teach, or the day you teach, you will see that you use all the things you got from your teachers. And actually, when I teach now to students, like in Lyon, for example, I realize that I use a lot of things that my sister told me when I was 7 or 8, like searching about open strings and so on. She was 14 or 15 when she found that. So I'm quite amazed of how good she was teaching. Yazimir Vujicic was very passionate teacher. He gave me something like 8 hours of lesson in 1 week or something like that. He was very young. I was 12, he was 31. And he was really searching a lot about open strings. And so he was also, in terms of, I was not an easy adolescent. I think I had a lot of character, and he was using that character. So he was provoking me, and I was like this, and that helped me to sort of to manage things. So he was like a sort of second father for me. Like really, it was a very close relationship. But in terms of music, it was a lot about two things. A lot about searching in sound, like how to take the string, or the contact you can feel, you know, with these fingers, and how you move the string on the side, or you put the weight, things like this, you know. Which in this time I did like between 12 and 21. I think I did half an hour of open strings every day, really searching about sound. And that came a lot from him. And then it was his plan that I go to Ozim. Ozim was a fantastic teacher. He was someone who was, I mean, it was very much German school. So it was very much, this is the way you have to do, and don't do another way. Which is very useful for a few years, because after you can search, but it's in a way that helped me to be really quick. And Ozim was extremely professional. I mean, he was very hardworking. So you felt if he's so hardworking and you are not hardworking, it's not good. Unlike many of my friends, my dream was quartet. I mean, absolutely. Like, the career I wanted to do is first violin of quartet. That was absolutely something I wanted. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that actually, that's why actually the quartet is called Danel, that at the start, my sister and my brother were in the quartet. So we were 3 from the family. So we went first as a trio with my sister and my brother. And Norbert Breinin, the first violin of Amadou, said, okay, fine, you don't come back to me unless you are a quartet. So find a second violin and come, because I don't want to teach a string trio. So we called the girl, we said, do you want to play with us? She said, okay, she went. And then we started to do quartet like students, like, you know, twice a week or something like this. Then we did a course in early 91 with the Borodin Quartet. So 91, that's really very short after the Perestroika, you know, the fact to have the greatest Russian quartet coming to teach. That was a chance to meet them, which was really enormous. And then we worked, and then Berlinski, the cellist, said it was only about Shostakovich quartets. So we did 4 Shostakovich quartets. And then one day, Berlinski said, tomorrow you play a Beethoven to me, whatever, because I want to talk with you. So we played the Beethoven. He wanted to see how we are in classical repertoire. And then he told us, okay, you can be a fantastic quartet, but you have to stop everything else. So the ones who are students, stop your study. The ones who have a job, stop your job and do quartet 7 days a week. And yeah, really, I look like really someone who decides nothing, but okay, we did it. So our teachers say you have to stop. So that's how my end of study was like. I think I got 6 lessons with Ozim on the last year because I was constantly with the quartet, traveling, having courses, doing concerts. And we did that really as a main job. My sister and my brother had a job at that time, they cancelled their jobs. And we started, and that's the moment where Gilles, who is still now in the quartet, joined the quartet. So the birth of the quartet is that moment. But the decision was sort of evident because we loved this repertoire so much. I mean, we really, it was a dream from ever. So I am still happy to do it. It's interesting. For example, if you listen to a piece like Shostakovich number 8 or Death and the Maiden in quartet version, and then you hear it in chamber orchestra version, because there are pieces which have chamber orchestra versions. I don't say the chamber orchestra versions are bad, but it's sort of diluted. You know, the thing is that in quartet, with 4 people to create such dramaturgy, it pushes everyone to the absolute edge. We here, for example, when I teach, there is a point where I absolutely insist always on with young quartets is to tell you have to be very individualistic somehow. You have to be open to others. You have to create one sound with the others, because that's the benchmark of a professional quartet. If you are a professional quartet, you have not 4 sounds but one sound. This is really where you have the cello, then the viola, then the second violin, then the first violin. So sort of, you know, a very dense quartet at the low, and then going to something warmer in the upper. And that one thing which for me makes a difference between a real quartet and people playing quartet for fun. But anyway, you have to create a whole world only with 4 people. And that's enormous. That's something, and not with an instrument like the piano, which is so hegemonic, you know. Because when you play sonata, I love playing sonata, but the piano is creating everything, and you're just singing on top of that. You know, but in quartet, you have these 4 equal instruments, which have to create a world. So sometimes it sounds like a symphony. I mean, I was teaching a young quartet about Brahms number 1. My gosh, the end of Brahms number 1, you have the impression you have an orchestra in front of you, but you keep also this individuality sometimes, and you have to create every dramaturgy. You have all types of relationships. It's also, you have 4, 3, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. That's a lot of combinations, and you can have parts which are in confrontation, you can have parts which are harmonious, you have parts which melt, and so basically it's with 4 instruments to create all possible types of combinations of almost of human relationships, which after all create a whole dramaturgy, and all that with having one sound. So that's why I think most of the greatest composers wrote for quartet. And then if you want one reason to play string quartet all your life, is the repertoire. I mean, I love Beethoven Concerto for violin. It's amazing, but we have 16 quartets. I mean, it's all Mozart, 6 violin concertos, 23 quartets. Schubert, 17 quartets. I mean, we have a repertoire, and we have the chance, if you look, and Haydn. Maybe Mozart, I would not say, because piano concertos or so, but Haydn, Beethoven, Schubert, many others wrote the deepest of what they wrote in 2-string quartets. So we have so much luck. When you have all the last pieces of Beethoven, wow. I mean, so, and I remember, you know that Breilin, the first violin of Amadeus, won the very first Carl Flesch competition in 45. And Carl Flesch had been his teacher, so he did it in honor of his teacher, so to say. And I remember when we came as a string trio, Breilin said, you know, it's his opinion, but I don't disagree. Beethoven, in his late quartets, reached a spiritual level that no artist in any art have ever reached apart maybe of Schubert in his last quartet. So that's a reason to spend your life playing string quartet. And I quite agree with it. It's subjective, totally subjective, but I believe it's true. Cycles are so important. I would have not played quartet, and I would have been. You should do that actually, but I would have been just playing violin repertory. I would have want absolutely to play all Bach or all Isaïe or all Beethoven sonata also, because I think that's anyway the full work of a composer on one formation is something really, really, really unique. And then to speak about Weinberg, so I can speak a little bit about the composer and why to play. That's interesting because we started Weinberg because we had done very, very early the cycle of all Shostakovich. Actually, when we started, we were invited right away the first year as young quartet residents at Aldborough Festival. It was 3 months between January and March. And they said to us, you have to play 12 concerts with new pieces, and you can do whatever you want. So we thought, okay, we have the Borodin Quartet there because they were sort of professional quartet residents when we were small young quartet in residence, so they had houses there. So they were quite often there. So we thought we will profit that they are there and we'll do all Shostakovich. So that means that we did all Shostakovich the first year of our life. And then naturally, because we had this, because we love it so much, we started to play that a lot. And then someone came to us, a musicologist, a Belgian musicologist called Franz Lemaire, came to us and said, okay, when you are tired with Shostakovich, start Weinberg. And Berlinski is a cellist of Borodin who played also a very, very key role at every stage of our life of quartets until the day he passed away, said, here are parts. So he gave us, I think, 4 quartets or something like this. And do it. And because we are a bit stubborn and extreme, we started the idea to do all Weinberg. It's interesting because Weinberg has 3 periods. Like Beethoven, he has 3 periods in his writing. First period is between the first quartet and the 6th. They were all written between the age of 17 and 26. Can you imagine a composer that with 26 has written already 6 quartets? Knowing that the 2 first ones, he was still autodidact when he wrote that. He was a fantastic pianist. Apparently, he was one of the best young pianists in Warsaw, in the conservatory. There is even a funny story that I will tell you after. But he still didn't study composition. So these 6 quartets, that's interesting. Third quartet, 3 movements. Fourth quartet, 4 movements. Fifth quartet, 5 movements. Sixth quartet, 6 movements. In the 6th quartet, you have 3 cadenzas for first violin, 1 for viola, 1 for cello. But cadenza with fifths, you know, da 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 di di da da. It's really 6 movements which are, the last is so difficult. You know, it's just enormous. It's a bit like 130 for Beethoven. And these pieces were actually the ones which were not played. Because then there was a gap of 11 years between 1946 and 1957. In this gap, in these years, Weinberg was, first of all, his father-in-law, who was a very famous actor, Salomon Mikoels, was killed on order of Zhdanov. Then Weinberg, at the moment that happened, in 1948, so Weinberg was 28 years old, the secret police came to him and said, was sort of destroying all his flat, and said, we will find something, don't worry, we will get you. As Weinberg was the most innocent guy as possible. He was followed in the street every time he would go out. Absolutely obviously, to break his nerves. And in 1953, the day where with David Oistrakh, he did the first performance of his Moldavian Rhapsody, he was arrested in the night and he was put in jail for 4 months, where he wasn't, they didn't let him sleep ever. So he was in a place where he could not lie down. He had a light in front of him, and they would wake him up the whole time. So he would have died quite quickly if Stalin would not have died before. Like a lot of people, you know, who were freed from jail in 1953 after the death of Stalin. What is very interesting to know is that in this time where no one, if you were politically in danger, no one would pretend to know you. That was a way to avoid that people would be arrested one after the other. Shostakovich wrote a letter to Lavrenti Beria, which was one of the most horrible people of this government, you know, saying, my friend Weinberg is innocent, you have to free him. This letter didn't help, actually, but it shows how close they were to each other and how courageous Shostakovich was. But nevertheless, that was, so all this happened in a time where I didn't write any string quartet. Then there is a time, it was a great time of friendship with Shostakovich, where they were meeting twice a week. Weinberg was never a student of Shostakovich, but they were extremely close and they were influencing each other. They were playing on the piano their pieces to each other, and really on the basis of meeting twice a week. And then, so between the 7th and the 12th, that's this great time of friendship. That's also the moment where Weinberg was played the most. And then the quartets after the death of Shostakovich, which are a little bit more abstract somehow, but incredible pieces also. And the quartets from Weinberg which were played the most was the middle part, naturally. So when we started this, we thought we were going to play all of them. Some parts were almost impossible to find, because we got some from Berlinski, we got some from Sasha Raskatov, a Russian, very good Russian composer who was close to Weinberg. We got some from a Russian musicologist called Manashe Yakubov. And then some were missing. And then we have an incredible story. We went with my wife to the widow of Weinberg, and we said, we don't find the first, second, third and fifth quartet. Can you help us? She came, she said, wait a minute, and she came back with the manuscript. And you know, this time you could not, you know, it's the 90s, so you could not scan on your phone or anything like this. So we were like, okay, what are we doing with it? She said, just take them. You make copies and you bring it back to me. Moscow was very dangerous in the 90s. You know? So can you imagine, you are in the Moscow tube in a very dangerous period with 4 manuscripts of Weinberg, like this. We copied it, we gave them back, and then a lot of the quartets, when we worked them, we first copied with the hand. I still play on hand-copied. I have one here, I can show you after. Most of my parts of Weinberg I've been copying hand from the manuscript or from a copy of the manuscript. And then we learned them and we played them. And then at every quartet we played, we discovered, oh my gosh, it's absolutely masterwork. First, I mean, we were thinking that maybe 2 or 3 of them are going to be great. Actually, they're all amazing. And so now we played them, I think, 12 times as a complete cycle. We recorded them long ago now. It's almost, it started 20 years ago. So we actually want to record them again because we play them much better than in this time. 20 years is a long time, you know, when you play the pieces a lot. We had the chance with Shostakovich to record it twice, so we hope to have the same chance with Weinberg. But it's also a life story because it goes from the age of 17 to his very, very late years. And unlike Shostakovich, the cycle of Weinberg, so we do the cycles always chronologically, because we think it makes sense for people to hear in comparison with what happened. And the very first time we did the whole Weinberg cycle in concert, like in a short time, we did it in Manchester at the university. It was in 2009, after we recorded them. And 2009 was actually the 90th birthday of Weinberg. He was born in 1919. And there we were really thinking maybe the 17th is not the strongest. So we had done something stupid. We played all, and for the last concert we left people vote to choose one that we will play again. And I was seeing the vote getting bad, so I said to all my family who was there, vote for something light, like Ariane Capriccio or something like this. We had to play the 6, which is really 35 minutes of again. And at the end of the cycle, to play the 6 again was really difficult. But now we finished with 17 because it's very, very interesting. Actually, now the 17 is one of the ones I love the most. Weinberg, who had a very, very difficult life anyway, is finishing his cycle with a totally happy piece. And it's finishing like a sort of, I don't know, like a sort of declaration of love for life, for music, for string quartet, and it's so impressive because the 16th and 15th are so tragic. And in a way, I don't know if he knew it's going to be his last quartet, but it's finishing with the most bright quartet ever. And I think that's amazing. But to tell you another thing about Weinberg Quartet. Quartet number 2. So first of all, in the 20th century, to write a quartet when you never had a lesson of composition and you are 19 is really something. But it's the last movement, and I love it because I always think you can do that only if you are 19. After you will never do it again. The whole last movement is in G major, like most of the quartet. And it's ending with G major, on a C major chord that was never there before. So that means the only 2 notes which are in C major in the last movement are the last cadence. And it's so much like a provocation, like yeah, I am 19 and I do what I want. And I think really they're an amazing cycle. I am happy because now I see people play it in competition. I see people play it in exams. There are 2 other quartets now we did the complete recording. It took a lot of time. They waited 10 years after we did it. Some started but stopped. Maybe because they're very difficult, I don't know. But I am happy now to see that the Weinberg quartets are part of the repertory. On our side, at the start, we had to fight every time we wanted to play Weinberg. Now, especially in some places, like the States, for example, people say, we want to have a Weinberg. Play what you want, a part of this, but we want a Weinberg. And I'm so happy about it. The music itself, everyone can get it. There is no one who cannot love music. And then, and the same, when we see classical music with different music, in a way, the dialogue was always there. And when you listen to a lot of things, like even, for example, not even, but especially, for example, in heavy metal, for example, you have a lot of classical things. A lot of Baroque things, a lot of solo of guitar which are very close to Paganini things on the violin and things like this. I mean, basically the same because it's about emotions. And I think no one should think, oh no, it's not for me. They should try. If they try it, they will love it.